Okay, here we go again with another one of these videos. Today we're going to replace the battery in a Ducati 848 Superbike. It's the same battery that's in the 848 as the 1098, 1198, and from the research I did, every Ducati has pretty much the same battery. So the first thing we're going to do is take out all the little screws that hold our plastic on. So the screws I'm removing right now have a little rubber grommet with a brass threaded insert. These will be the first screws that we take out. There are 4 of them, 3 that you can see on the bodywork and 1 underneath the headlight. The battery used in this video came from jakewilson.com. So this is the one underneath the headlight. It's right up front. It's fairly easy to get to. So now we're going to remove the 2 little plastic rivets that hold the outer body work on. I take a straight slot screwdriver and slide it up in there and just pop the cap off and then reach in and pull it out. There are 2, one in the front, one in the back. Since you really couldn't see them, I didn't show myself removing the one in the back. Next, we're going to remove the screw that is behind the kickstand. And there are 3 under the bike. 1 in the rear by the back tire and 2 up front almost directly underneath the radiator and oil cooler. These are a little bit difficult to get to when you're on the ground. Alright, now we're down to the screws that are actually holding the bodywork onto the frame. So this one mounts the bodywork to the engine. These last 3 are probably the most important ones because they're actually bolted to a solid piece of the bike. So the 2 that I'm taking out now should always be the last 2 out and the first 2 in. And there we go. The last one's out. Now let's drop the kickstand, and then we'll just slide this body panel out of the way. So here's my new battery. This battery is going to be a YTX 12BS. It's actually a battery for a Honda VFR. I got the wrong part, but that's okay. I do buy most of my parts, all of my tires from JakeWilson.com. Kudos to them. They always seem to have what I need. So I removed the screw that holds the bracket for the battery, and I put a zip tie at the bottom of that bracket just to make it a little bit stronger. You probably don't have the zip tie. Now I'm taking a 10mm wrench and I am removing the screws that hold the battery cables to the battery. This battery is a YT12BBS. That is what all of your Ducatis take. It is Yuasa YT12BBS, and they are about $80 at Jake Wilson. Pretty fair price. So let's pull it out. This one has been in the bike since 2008. I bought this bike in March of 2008. It's now March of 2014, and this battery is finally done. You can see where the Honda battery is about 3/4 of an inch thicker, which means that my bike doesn't chug anymore when I start it up. So to make it fit, I have to pop these two little tabs out of the inside of the battery box. And this is what holds the battery in place. What I'm going to do with it is just turn it around, so the little tabs will be sticking out instead of in as a spacer. And I take my Honda spray cleaner and I'm going to go ahead and wipe out the inside of this battery box. And again, the battery that you see me putting in is a Y as in Yankee, T as in Tango, X as in X-ray, 12, B as in Bravo, S as Sierra, and it's for a Honda VFR or most Honda motorcycles. It's a bit bigger, more cold cranking amp, so my Ducati's not going to chug when I go to fire it up. It just turns right over and goes. Now I'm putting on my battery cables. Along with my battery cables, I have a cable for a battery tender, and I also have the most important cable that all Ducatis need, a radar detector cable. A little tip when you're adding extra wires to your battery and to the battery terminals, when you put that little square battery nut inside the terminal, put a zip tie underneath it. The tip of a zip tie, you see it hanging there? It'll lift that nut up high enough so the screw will catch the threads. Now I'm putting the little bracket that holds the battery in place in, and as you see, I have a hole there that my zip tie will go through, and it goes through the bottom of the battery pan, and then I just cinch it down tight. So that zip tie, along with the one little screw at the top of the battery box, will definitely hold my battery in place. I've actually pulled the side panel off before, and seen the bottom of that little battery holding bracket just hanging freely, and that made me a little nervous. So I went ahead and drilled a hole and ran a zip tie at that time, and I've been doing it ever since. A little extra security doesn't hurt anything. So everything looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and replace this fuse for my radar detector. I had a 3 amp fuse, and the radar detector takes a 1 amp fuse. When I wired this up a few years ago, I didn't have any 1 amp fuses. Now I do. So I'll go ahead and replace that now. And then let's button her back up. Let's put some side covers on. So we just slide that over the kickstand, and then we line up those first 2 holes. So like I said, these will be the last 2 screws off and the first 2 screws on. And they will also be the last 2 screws to be tightened down when we're done putting our plastic back on the bike. And in case you guys are wondering, no, I did not start the bike with the cover off. Stupid cat just hit the camera. But once I did put the battery in, I did turn the bike on, and I made sure that the battery was making enough, it did have enough charge to start the bike, and it was at 12.7 according to Ducati's voltage meter on the dash. So this will always be the 3rd screw that you put in place, and again, you're not going to tighten that one down all the way just yet. And we're going to do the 3 that are under the bike next, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to tighten those down while we're here. And you see my stupid little cat running around the bottom of the bike there. That was a feral cat that I trapped back in December, and I took him to my local vet and I got him fixed, and now he's the best pet that we've ever owned. He's just like a little dog, follows you around, plays, he's loving, so I guess we'll keep him. That cat was wild and mean before he got fixed. He wouldn't let you go within 10 feet of him. So this screw here is actually on a nut that kind of floats underneath the swing arm. So you kind of have to line that nut up to get the screw in. And now we're back up to the top of the body panel. And these are the little lightweight screws that go into those rubber grommets. Again, we're not going to tighten these down until we get them all in, because we want to make sure that this panel lines up with the upper. And once we get everything lined up and in place, then we'll come back and we'll tighten these screws down all the way. So here's our little plastic rivets going in. This is the one in the front. You want to make sure you hear that pop. It goes in through the plastic. And now we're going to reach into the back. The one in the back is pretty hard to get to. But we just want to shove that one into the hole and then push the rivet home. So once we get that last rivet in place, we can go ahead and start tightening down all the panel screws. While I'm finishing up, I want to give a huge thanks out to JakeWilson.com. They provide me with most of the motorcycle parts that you see me using on my videos. So we have those tightened down pretty good. Now this will be the third to the last screw you do. You want to make sure this one's good and tight. Give it a good little turn, snug it up. Do the top one, the bottom one, and then snug them up really well. So now we have our side panel on. Now let's go ahead and start the bike and make sure it runs. This bike hasn't been run in about 5 months. So we're going to give it some gas. And then we're going to turn it over. And that's what your turning sounds like with the baffles out. That nice little rumble. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please watch some of my others. I hope this was good entertainment for y'all. Bye-bye.